Welcome back to the good, the bad, and the pure evil. And welcome back to the sixth day of Halloween Tale. So we're at Halloween Eve, if that is a thing. Anyway, today I wanted to tell the story of the most known and feared story, the Banshee. Before that, hit the subscribe and like button, ring the absolute hell out of the little bell, grab your blanket, dim your lights, and sip on that good old pumpkin spice latte. Let's begin. The Banshee is a female ghost, spirit, soul, and usually has an association to death. She is said to roam the earth, wailing, screaming, crying when death is near. The word Banshee means woman of the fairies. She can appear as a beautiful young woman or an old wicked witch. She dresses in grey or white cloaks, and if not seen, you'll definitely hear her wails in the night, signifying someone is about to die. Those who see her say she runs a comb through her hair, appearing to be upset. She's believed to be linked to certain families, usually linked to old tribe Irish families, so those with an O or a Mac in their name, like O'Neill, O'Brien, McNally, McDonough. The Banshee isn't thought to do harm to people, but another Irish female spirit, the Lawhan she's not so nice. She looks for a male lover, only to take him down and suck the life from him. The origin of Banshee is actually a normal story. Back in medieval times, funerals had women called keeners, and they would cry, wail, mourn, and sing by the graveside. It actually was a good business with good pay, especially to the good ones, and the best would do the funerals of the wealthy families. For powerful families, they seen a higher mourner to them called Banshee, or fairy woman, and that was because fairies were much better at singing and mourning than people. Over time, stories would become muddled and twisted into what we know today. Banshees or keeners would be paid in alcohol, usually leading to the women becoming an alcoholic. They would become ragged looking and old, and usually they would be exiled from the village, which added fuel to the old hag Banshee story. At first, the stories had the Banshee appear to people about to have a violent or painful death, like a murder. Later, the stories were of the Banshee wailing at night outside their door, so more heard and not seen. Those who don't believe explain the sounds as wailings of owls or vixens. Banshees commonly are old wicked hags, but there are stories of young beautiful ones, and there's even stories of the Banshee being a murdered woman. All cases have her silver haired with a comb. She wears a grey or white cloak, or sometimes a grave robe of the dead, and her eyes are said to be red raw from crying. The descriptions of the cries depends where you're from. Leinster, where I'm from, it's said to be a shrill so piercing it can shatter glass. Up in the north it's said to be like two boards being hit, and down south it's said to be more of a nice low singing than a screech or wail. All agree that the sound can be heard for miles, happening for nights in a row or just once off. It rises and falls and lasts minutes, and can be soft or intense. Banshee also cried at a healthy person. Within a week, that perfectly healthy person was dead in a freak accident. It's believed the Banshee was once a normal, fun-loving, happy, beautiful woman who had something happen that consumed her in sorrow and had her become wicked, stressed, old and haggard. They moved from place to place, giving the sound of birds flying. She would vanish upon sight, leaving a lingering mist. Banshee chairs are dotted across Ireland. Banshees sat and mourned here when they weren't at a deathbed. It's thought every family has its own Banshee, as there probably is an O or Mac in your family line. With this thought, it said if a family emigrated, the Banshee followed. If for some reason she didn't, she remained at the family seat, mourning their leaving forevermore. Other similar manifestations was Banshee, or washing woman. This is more Scottish than Irish. She didn't wail, she creepily washed bloody clothes of a person about to die, and she was said to look like the Banshee. Like I said, Banshees were connected families, usually the great families of Ireland, and some believed it was to bring misery to them, while others say she was once a friend to them who was so upset after losing their love. Everyone or nearly everyone in Ireland have their own Banshee tale. Mine is that of a relative on his deathbed. He all of a sudden sat up, well and healthy, and told all in the room to not only leave the room, but to leave the house. When asked when can they return, he said, "You'll know when." As the family waited outside in the cold dead night, a piercing scream broke the silence. By the time they got back to their room, my relative was dead. Another relative would say a Banshee calls for a lost chieftain or warrior. So yeah, that's the Banshee. Join me tomorrow for the last day of the Halloween tale. Remember, hit that subscribe and like button and ring the hell out of that tiny bell. Until then, this was the good, the bad, and the pure evil.